Welcome back guys to another Cyberpunk video. Johnny Silverhand was known for a lot of stuff I'm not allowed to show here on YouTube, but the things I am allowed to show include hating corporals and being an absolute destructive force in Night City. His personal quest versus Arasaka went actually so far that he actually became a real terrorist and bombed the Arasaka Tower. So I wanted to create a build that reflects his character in the best possible way. And don't forget the crazy gunslinger levels, where you were just running around with the Malorian arms and one-shotting everyone with an infinite health bar that was refilling faster than you were actually shooting. Since he was also an absolutely merciless character in this regard, I completely went down the merciless route and I actually managed to incorporate all the crazy destructive force and the gunslinger skills in an all legendary Johnny build. I was experimenting a lot with health boosters and health refill perks, but none of these came ever close to being as powerful as in the Johnny flashbacks. So the only way to become similarly powerful was to equip a Sandevistan mod. Even though Sandevistan does not fit Johnny Silverhand, but the way he played in those flashbacks certainly meant that he was on some sort of drugs anyway. And to reflect the same destructive force when things go wrong, I decided to equip the Defender and turn this into an absolute monster minigun. With the correct perks from the Annihilation tree, this thing will actually shoot even faster than the Problem Solver or any other gun in the game, resulting in an absolute Terminator minigun playstyle. And if things are getting really rough, simply switch to the 05 and blast everyone away. With this build you will have all the needed requirements to use this weapon to its full potential. Getting 100% crit shots, mostly from Merciless, is of course rounding up the package, and that allows you to run around with your Malorian arms and recreate those cool Johnny flashback playstyles, where you just shoot everyone in their head and they simply explode and die instantly. Your Sandevistan will only have a 4-second cooldown, and this can already be achieved with only Reflex 12, which allows you to spend more points into body, tech and cool instead. Running around and playing with this build will be extremely satisfying. You just have to kill your first target, which might need up to 2 or 3 hits, but once you have triggered Cold Blood with your first kill, you will only have to hit every enemy once, and then they simply die instantly. You can basically use Sandevistan forever by activating it again and again and again thanks to the insanely low cooldown, and if things get ugly or just if you feel like it, you can switch to your minigun and rip everyone apart. Your minigun will have an increased fire rate for every enemy you kill and every enemy you dismember. So the more enemies you kill, the faster this thing will actually shoot, and the thermal damage will make it a real hellfire machine gun. And if you ever run out of ammo with your minigun, simply switch to the 05 and blow up everything that stands in your way. But now let's check out the build, guys. I actually tried my best to recreate the look of Johnny Silverhand at the Ripper Dog, but I only had a female character available for this. But I think the outcome looks really good, especially if you equip all the Johnny clothes. Our first weapon of course will be the Malorian arms. In this configuration the weapon will have around 15% crit chance. This can further be improved if you want to equip more penetrator mods. However, I thought that 1 crunch mod and 3 penetrator mods would actually be enough. With Tech 18 you can craft all your mods in legendary quality, and when you trigger Cold Blood you will actually get over 83% crit chance from your character and from Merciless, and with the additional 15% from your weapon you will actually end up with 98%. You can of course further increase this by investing 2 more points into Merciless or with another penetrator mod, but I didn't want to lose too much damage. Our next weapon of mass destruction is the insanely strong Defender. If you shoot enough enemies with this weapon, it will actually start to shoot as fast as a minigun. In the configuration I used for this weapon, the Defender will have 90% crit chance. We will equip a handyman scope to see our ammo count directly on screen, 2 crunch mods and 2 penetrator mods. Together with the 83% crit chance from character and Merciless, you will get over 102% crit chance for this weapon. The legendary Defender can only be purchased at a specific weapon dealer at the Kabuki roundabout. Just reload the vendor until you get one with thermal damage. For the 05 the crit chance actually doesn't really matter since everyone will simply explode anyway. For this weapon it is more important to focus on reload speed, so we will equip a neon arrow mod and 3 additional crunch mods. The 05 can be collected in the Beat on the Blood fight in Rancho Coronado. Make sure you include it in the bet and make a manual save before you attempt it. Our gear consists of all the collectible Johnny pieces, which we fully upgrade to legendary status, except for the headgear, which is just a random piece. The samurai jacket and Johnny's tank top will be fully equipped with armadillo mods in highest rarity and the full 75 armor, but on the aviators we will equip a 4% crit chance mod. So if you're lucky enough to find a Fortuna mod, then definitely save it for this piece. In your pants, alternatively to armor, you can also go for anti-burn and anti-shock mods, but normally your Cyberware should also cover this. On our shoes we add another armadillo, and of course a Johnny Silverhand build wouldn't be perfect without adding some thermal grenades, otherwise known as Molotov cocktails. For the Cyberware I only tried to get the best of the best, however Johnny Silverhand is not a netrunner, and with only Reflex 12 it was only possible to get the uncommon heal on kill and the rare mechatronic core and nothing else in the third slot. But we go all in our Kiroshi optics and equip a triple trajectory analyzers here, and yes, goddamn, they do stack. Please don't post they don't, because they do stack since patch 1.5 already. Alternatively you can also go for weak spot detection, which would give you 2% crit chance each, but headshot damage is a multiplier, so trajectory analysis is just too good to be skipped. Body 18 allows us to go all in the circulatory system, go for a second heart to revive you on death. The legendary bioconductor will dramatically help us reducing our Sandevistan cooldown, and the legendary biomonitor will further protect us from dying. Of course we get the pain editor for 10% overall damage reduction, the metabolic editor for avoiding any poison damage. With Reflex 12 we can only afford the rare reflex tuner, and since Kerenzikov is not useful for this level, we will go for the Neo Fibers for an additional damage reduction. In the armor slots we will go for 300 additional armor, and since Johnny Silverhand can appear and disappear whenever he wants to, using optical camo will not even break our immersion. In the last slot we will go for the heat converter as usual. Then I found a really crazy Sandevistan at the Ripperdock in Pacifica. This item has 16 second duration and 15 seconds cooldown, and when we equip 2 legendary heat sinks we will actually bring it down to 7 seconds, and the legendary bioconductor will bring it further down to be only 4 seconds in total. So it is just as good as the one you get in Downtown or the legendary one you get from Fingers. It has the same stats, the same cooldown, the same duration, it just doesn't give you any additional crit chance. But you can use it at Reflex 12 instead, which is extremely early for such a good item. The crafting specs for the heatsinks can be purchased at the Ripperdock near the Mission Waterfront in Santo Domingo. Just reload this shop until he sells the item. With body 18 we are also able to equip the epic skeleton to increase our health by a whopping 50%, and since we are playing Johnny Silverhand, also gets the titanium bones, not just for the immersion but also for increasing your carry capacity. A gunslinger like Johnny will also benefit from the ballistic coprocessor, so if you want to use a perk you can definitely use it and equip this item. And of course we will use the gorilla arms. This is also needed to get the requirement stats for using the O5, but it will also be used as a punching weapon to resemble Johnny Silverhand's left arm. I equipped it with the animal's knuckles for more physical damage, then of course a black market battery to double the damage, and the sensory amplifier for increased critical damage. And even though we are playing as Johnny Silverhand, but you still want to move around quickly, so I still recommend you to get the double jumps. Of course you're all waiting for the skill points, and they are quite different this time. We will go for 18 body, 18 tech and 20 on cool. Even when playing with a handgun you don't have to dive deep into reflex, because you will get all the most useful perks very early on, including a really good Sandevistan which you can use as early as Reflex 12. So there's no real need to go higher on reflex, and we can happily spend the points on the other trees. Under ninjutsu in the cool tree we only have to get the assassin perk, we don't need any of the stealth or sneaking perks because we won't be silent at all with this build. In cold blood definitely get the cold blood center perk because that is what triggers cold blood. Then you should get at least 62 points into merciless, that will ensure you get over 100% with your defender and even 98% with the Malorian arms. Of course if you spend 2 more points you will also get 100% with the Malorian arms, but the same could also be achieved by using a weak spot detection or another penetrator mod. Don't forget to get easy out because that will increase your damage with all your ranged weapons, and then go for the usual stuff like Kulagulant, which removes all your stacks of cold blood one by one. Cold and calculating will give you another stack of cold blood for every critical hit. Pain is an illusion will reduce your damage, critical condition will increase the duration, and coldest blood will give you 2 more stacks of cold blood. Then in the tech tree we will of course get True Craftsman, Grease Monkey to craft rare and epic items, and of course Edge Runner Artisan. Once you have crafted all your legendary items, you can actually remove True Craftsman and Grease Monkey and only stick with Edge Runner Artisan. And don't forget to get Field Technician for the increased 10% damage for every crafted weapon. Then the next in line is Reflex. Under Assault we will only go for the 2 reloading perks, which increases the reload speed for our O5. And then under handguns we will go for High Noon for the increased crit chance, we'll go for Gunslinger for the increased damage, and then the headshot perks Rio Bravo and Longshot. This is the most important stuff and you don't really need anything else under handguns. Under body, under athletics, of course we go for Pack Mule and the 2 health regeneration perks, which regenerates all your health even up to 100% even outside of combat. Then we go for Tenacious V, Invincible and Steel and Chrome to increase our health and armor. Then we go all in under Annihilation, Pump It Louder for reduced recoil, Hail of Bullets for increased damage, Get In Your Face for increased reload speed, which is really important, then Bulldozer of course for the increased crit chance, and Unstoppable. Unstoppable is probably one of the most important perks because it increases your fire rate dramatically for every enemy you kill and dismember. If you don't have more points, you can skip everything that comes after Unstoppable. You don't really have to get Street Shooter, but of course it helps to increase your damage. Heavily knocks back your enemies, and Hits Attack will profit from this perk because it increases the damage against all those staggered enemies. You don't really have to get any of the last 3 perks, but they really help to increase your damage and increase the fire rate of your minigun. This build feels really fresh and it is very satisfying to play. I hope you really enjoy it. Please don't forget to subscribe, leave me a like and see you next time.